shout out to Scott. Ireland's kicking off the college football season in 5 days. We're almost all the way back. We are very, very close. It's been a long summer, even though the Olympics were great. Love that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But I miss NFL Sundays more than anything.
I think once you get that first like fall Saturday, we got some nice crisp air. It's a nice sunny day out, and you see the guys on that college football panel. I think that's when, and you see all those drunk college students at 10 in the morning with signs up saying like Nick Saban eats dick or whatever. Like that's how you know football season is back.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Boys Upstairs Show. This is our top 20 quarterbacks list.
Woo!
We're back. The show is, in that little edging period, you could say, of football's right around the corner, and we're all very excited to chat some ball here. We've got our annual Jake's top 20 quarterback list. We're going to split this up into two shows, 20 through 11 and then 10 through 1. So we'll hand it over to Jake.
So it's great to be back doing this. We've done this a few years now, and I've actually changed the criteria up for my quarterback list this year. If I was a GM of a team, this is the order of the quarterbacks that I would want on my team for this season. So no projections, just who I think's better. At number 20 from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I think he had 26 touchdowns last year, 8 picks with Denver. Sean Payton gave him $80 million buyout, whatever, to just get off the team. I think he has a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. The Steelers are always a well-built roster, a great team as far as, all the small things that, what they lack is elite offensive talent. And they have George Pickens, they have Najee Harris, but they haven't had a great quarterback since Big Ben during like the Antonio Brown years. I think Russ can turn back the clock a little bit. And I think that he can play that, game manager role with the tendency to make big throws, big plays. Number 19, Baker Mayfield. Got a $100 million contract. Yeah. His career is the epitome of a roller coaster. First year, good. In year 2, they got Odell. He threw 20 picks. Then year 3, won a playoff game. Then year 4, he was hurt, but he was the reason they missed out on the playoffs, played poorly. Year 5, he was on the Panthers, got benched for P.J. Walker. Year 6 last year, he was great, led the Bucs to a playoff win. I don't know what you're getting with him, up, down, up, down, up, down. I do think that he has some arm talent and that last year was a great year for him, but I don't think that last year is going to make me convinced that he's on his way to being a top 10 quarterback for the rest of his career. I have Baker at number 19. Number 18, and here's where it gets fun. Guys, pay attention on 12 through 18, these 6 guys, because I truly didn't know how to rank them. They all are very similar to me, and this is the best order that I could put them. Number 18, I have Kirk Cousins, new deal.
Oh!
Kirk Cousins is number 18. Older, coming off a major Achilles injury, new team. Number 17, Brock Purdy was in the Super Bowl last year, outplayed
MVP candidate last year.
MVP candidate last year. Is it him or is it the great team? Is it the great play calling? I have Brock Purdy as the 17th best quarterback in the league. Again, it's not projection based. He'll probably have another great year because they have an all-star team. But I think he's the 17th best. Number 16, Tua. I'm looking right at you, Cam. Cam, if every game was played in 75 degrees and sunny, he'd be up there with the big dogs. But unfortunately, it gets a little cold in December and January, and not every game can be played at Hard Rock Stadium. I have Tua number 16.
Shout out to calling Brian Flores a horrible person earlier today.
Also. Yeah, that's like breaking news. That just happened.
When did that happen?
This morning. I
came out this morning.
I wasn't too excited about that either.
That's part of what makes the NFL great, right there.
Yeah. So
that's how you know football is back.
I have Tua number 15 or number 16, number 15. And I know I'm going to get hate for this, but I just truly believe it. Jalen Hurts. I know he's been to a Super Bowl. I know that he played well in the game, but
every year it's kind of become like a running joke that you hate Jalen Hurts. But after their collapse last year, I'm not really too mad about it. I do think that you have some other guys above him that shouldn't be, but he did have it.
we're going to discuss it. I don't hate Jalen Hurts. It's just what I've seen. He's a great leader. He's great at the podium. But tell me what he does great on the with skills with football, like accuracy. Okay, he's decent. Deep ball.
He has a nice deep ball.
It makes it better when he's throwing to AJ Brown or Devontae. Listen, I'm just ranking them based on how I see it. A lot of turnovers last year. Didn't like that. Also, him and the coach. It's like, do they like each other? I don't know. It's weird. Strange vibes coming out of Philly. Number 14, Dak Prescott. Number 13, Jordan Love. New highest paid player in the history of the league, apparently. I think he's the 13th best quarterback in the league. Number 12, and this will get a lot of people staring at me, but I have arguments for it, Kyler Murray.
I like that.
I like that too. Number 11, and I'll end it right here. Number 11, Trevor Lawrence. That's 20 through 11. I'll stop there. Critique me, Joe.
I have a couple comments.
Trevor Lawrence time is done.
I think Trevor Lawrence should be
Kyler Murray. I'll be the one to say it since you guys were just like saying you agree with Jake. Kyler Murray should not be this high. Kyler Murray should not be Jordan Love. Kyler Murray should not be above Jalen Hurts. I don't like Tua, but he shouldn't be above Tua or Dak. Like Kyler Murray 2 years ago was in the first round of the playoffs. Everybody was like, oh, he's too short to play quarterback because he can't see over the Rams D line. And then last year they won 2 games. So it's like, what changed in that amount of time?
I mean, he played 2 games. I guess I'm going to take up for Scott here since he's missing. But do you really think you would take, as a GM, you would take Trevor Lawrence over Dak Prescott?
Yes. I care about the postseason.
What has Trevor done?
Trevor Lawrence blew a 20. What did he blow? A 20?
No, he came back from being down 27.
Oh, yeah, he did come back. But
And last year, the Jaguars were 8-3. They were in position to be the number 1 seed. They were vying for it. And then I think it was his ribs or his ankle. Like, remember, he was hobbling up the tunnel and the Monday night game, and they didn't have a cart for him. That kind of became a big joke. I think that I had him ranked like 8th last year. I had him too high. I overreacted to one strong year, and I've overreacted how great he was as a college player. Yes, I would rather have Trevor Lawrence because I've seen him in the small sample size that I have lead an almost improbable comeback in the postseason. And I'm just sick of the same movie with Dak Prescott. It's like, okay, it's empty calories. He puts up great numbers in the regular season, but can he beat the great teams? Dallas is a great home team, and they're great when they play the teams that aren't playoff teams. And then when Dak has to play the Niners or the Packers playoff game, it's like, really, this is all I'm getting? So he throws for a bunch of yards, but it's always in the second half when they're down by 20 already.
Since you brought it up, Jake, I have it here. So last year you had Trevor Lawrence at 6, and now he is at 11. So that's 5 spots down. And while we're doing this, Dak Prescott last year was at 12. He is now at 14. Jalen Hurts was at 8, and he is now at 15. Brock Purdy / 49ers QB, we didn't know who it was going to be at the time, was at 13. Now he's at 17. Kirk was at 10. Now he's at 18. Russ was at 15. Now he's at 20. So, and then a few guys who weren't even on the list last year. But Kyler, just for the record, was not on the list last year. And now he's somehow at 12.
I think he was injured going into the year. He was injured going into the year.
Projections for the year. Kyler didn't play till week 12. He had a torn.
Yeah, he was injured.
The Cardinals are going to be bad again. Like, I just don't understand. Like,
I am not sure about
the Cardinals.
Can I get a word about Jordan Love?
No, hold on. I'm going to answer my Kyler Murray talk really quickly. I forget what year it was, 2022 or something, or 2021. They started 8-0. Remember, the Cardinals did. They were scoring 28 a week or more. I thought Kyler Murray at that time became one of the most overrated players in the league. They were talking about him as an MVP candidate. They were talking about Arizona as legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I didn't buy it at all. Then he started to complain about not getting his contract. He got the contract. Remember with the Call of Duty
came out
with the Call of Duty clause. And then he tore up his knee. And then it was already penciled in Arizona was going to be the worst team in the league. They were going to move off Kyler and draft Caleb. That was the narrative going into last year. When he came back last year, he played well, again, on a bad knee. They had a game at the Eagles, that the Eagles needed to be the number one seed, he not only won the game, but he outplayed Jalen Hurts. He's a better athlete, in my opinion, than the guys that are behind him, and he has more arm talent. I think that he's gone from one of the most overrated players in the league, that 2021 year, now he's one of the most underrated. And he's got a nice, shiny toy to play with in Marvin Harrison Jr., that I think that Kyler is going to have a bounce-back season. I don't know what the odds are for comeback player of the year.
He's probably going to win.
He would get my, preseason prediction for it. I've always been impressed with his talent. It's always been about his commitment. And I think that being humbled, even he's got $200 million, but being humbled a little bit, like by the media, I think that'll actually be good for him. And yes, I think that he's more talented than Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Tua, Brock Purdy, and Kirk Cousins. And focus on, again, 12 through 18, because I'm going to be truthful with you guys. All those guys are very similar. Game managers, but with big play tendencies, they can go out and win a game. I didn't know how to rank them. I did it the best, and I kind of ranked it off who I think is the most talented. That's why I have Kyler ahead of all the rest of them, because he's a great athlete. Even though he's small, he's got a rocket arm. And I do think he's going to have a bounce-back season, and I do think he's been underrated because of the Call of Duty clause and because he blew out his knee a couple of years ago.
Can I put in one thought before we move on or whatever?
No, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, no, so my grievance here, and I had it loaded up because I figured you were going to do something like this. And I said have a word on Jordan Love, which obviously I don't like him being that high up. I hate him. I hate him almost as much as Aaron Rodgers now. That being said, yes, he had a great, last 10, 12 games of the season. He's played 1 year. He didn't do great in the divisional game, I think, is when they lost to the 49ers. Yeah, he made it there. He beat the Bears, whatever. So you could say that all you want. I'm just looking at the facts here. He hasn't proven that much. So I would say putting him ahead of Dak Prescott. And so Dak is the guy I had loaded up. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place here. But Dak, I mean, you could say all you want, how it's like, oh, he chokes in the playoffs all the time. He's just a stat patter on yards. Looking at the statistics, though, he's a very capable quarterback. Yes, he always has a stellar offensive line. He's got a guy like CeeDee Lamb to work with. But at the same time, putting a guy like Trevor Lawrence ahead of Dak, or like I said, Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, I actually kind of like your point on, because the dude's electric, and I think he's been unfairly hated on a little bit, probably because he's short. Not that that's a bad thing. But, I mean, Dak is objectively a good quarterback. He throws for a shit ton of yards. He throws for a lot of touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Didn't throw too many picks in the regular season, I don't think, this year. If you want to pin this on playoff performance and chokes and who's good because of who, whatever, that's why you put Brock Purdy so much further down back there. But I think in reality, Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than most people think. Probably, I would say, maybe even a top 5 quarterback in the league right now. So I am new and improved. Sam Massaro is coming in with a bang and saying Dak Prescott is a top 5 quarterback right now.
I definitely do not think Dak is a top 5 quarterback, but I agree that he is not as bad as Trevor Lawrence. I think that Trevor Lawrence is entirely too high. Like, I might, just looking at your list, I might even put Trevor Lawrence, switch him, like just move him back up to 18 and move everybody else up one slot. Like, the fact that Kirk is at 18, Kirk was an MVP candidate last year for a decent amount of the season. Like, I know that he's on a new team now. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson anymore, and also Brock Purdy was like, I do think Brock Purdy is a product of the system, but just in terms of like stats, like Sam was just saying, Dak, he's going to have tremendous stats this upcoming season. And, he
always does. That's just how it works with him.
Yeah.
Well, great stats. You can love him or hate him, but I mean, the numbers say what the numbers say.
And I do think that, again, Tua is going to have great stats because he has Tyreek, voted the number 1 player in the NFL by the players. Jalen Hurts, bounce back season potentially coming. Like Jake was just saying, that 11 through 18, 12 through 18, those guys are all very interchangeable and could all be a top 10 quarterback. And once we get into that top 10, that 10 slot is very, very up for question once we get there. But
I'm interested to see how the rest of these order, because I think there's guys that in this top 10 that multiple guys on this list deserve to be over. I think just as a whole overall, I think Kirk was a little low. Yeah, Kirk was a little low. Dak was definitely low. Trevor Lawrence was way too high. Those are my only really big grievances. I think the rest was fairly accurate. Although I would maybe give Baker a little more flowers considering the year he had last year.
My only problem with it, first of all, hello everybody.
Oh, hello,
Second,
Coby.
Go.
what's going on?
Just so you know, Joe Milton was 21st, buddy.
Damn it, I knew it. I figured you were saving him for top 10.
Yeah, almost. Hey.
But
Had he made me that Heisman bet last year, he'd be number one, but that did not happen.
that's why Caleb's so high up on the list.
Hey.
But my only critique on the list, which is like irrelevant because who really cares about who's at the bottom of the list, but like for going into next year, I think I know that you didn't say it, but in the list you texted us, you could see it. I think I might take like 10 of the bottom quarterbacks that you sent over Russell Wilson. No offense to Steelers fans in the room, not that he can't be great this year, but based off what we've seen in previous year, if I'm a GM going into this year and you're like, you can either take Russell Wilson based off what you've seen, or you could take a chance on Anthony Richardson, Jaden Daniels, I don't know, maybe like May. I don't know. I take a lot of those guys maybe at their
You almost said Sam Darnold, and then we're like, absolutely not.
I know. I saw Sam
see it
Darnold
in your eyes.
I saw Sam Darnold and Derek Carr, and I was like, my argument's flooding.
No, listen. I don't know if you joined before I gave my little intro. I took projection out of it. Of course, I'd rather have any of the younger guys than the older guys because they have a full career ahead of them. I'm talking about this season alone. If I have to win 10 games, who do I want as my quarterback? Could AR be elite? Yeah. Could he get hurt by week 2 because he runs too much? Yeah. I haven't seen him play enough. Even at UF, he played like 12 games. I don't know what I'm getting.
I think that AR is like probably the biggest question mark that I can think of coming into the year, just because like he's essentially a rookie in terms of like we saw him play for 2 regular season games or whatever it was, 2, 3. And he did look good, and their team did almost make the playoffs. So they could be a good team, but we just don't know what we're getting with him. He was like one of those guys coming into the season where it's like he would really benefit from being able to sit for a year, and he didn't. And he basically did because he got hurt. But like, I don't know how that affects him going into this season. I will say this in defense of Russ. I think that if we're able to win 10 games with Kenny Pickett / Mason Rudolph, then we should be expected to do at least that with Russell Wilson, who is objectively better than those two. Maybe it's Justin Fields. I would say the same thing with Justin Fields. But I think just ranking Russ overall, he did have a better year last year than he did the year before. Maybe that's Nathaniel Hackett. Maybe it's Russ getting, more suited into that system. But I think that our system this year is going to be much more run heavy, much more RPO play action. And I think that Russ will have to make some key 3rd down throws, which will also be dependent on our offensive line, which looks like fucking shit against the Bills last night or 2 nights ago. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely do think that Russ should be in the top 20. 20 is probably where I'd put him. But
Cam, I'm surprised you didn't, yell.
He didn't have a good season. He didn't have a good season. This isn't based off projections, so if it was, I would say Tua definitely should be higher.
Cam and Postman both said that they were done with Tua. So
I'm not done. You can't
again. This isn't projection. It's if I was a GM of an expansion team and I could pick whichever quarterback I want.
Exactly. And that's why.
And this would be the order of the quarterbacks that I would want.
If I was looking
at an interesting way to put it.
I gotta pick a quarterback for next season and went off what Tua did last season, I would put him at 16, 15, 17 as well.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you.
I'm being a realist.
Buddy.
Cam's spitting facts here.
Yeah, because listen, if Tua is your quarterback, then you need an awesome offensive coach and great receivers. And you need hot weather. You need too much. That's all I'm trying to say.
You need 80-degree heat and the sun glaring at the opponent's sideline.
I do disagree with Trevor Lawrence being at 11, but it's hard to disagree with that just because of how much like a dumpster fire the Jacksonville Jaguars are as like an organization. Like within like the past few years, he just had terrible coaching, like just no direction in this organization at all. So I really don't know what
that is a fair point. Like if you put Brock Purdy in Trevor Lawrence's position, he wouldn't be as good as he is.
I mean, Doug Peterson's a solid offensive coach. I think people give Trevor Lawrence way too much credit.
They had a collapse last year. They were like,
it wasn't just
they were 8-1, and then they didn't win another game. They had the playoffs locked up, and they didn't win. I feel like they've been a dumpster fire, but he had weapons last year. He had like Ridley, Kirk, and Zay Jones, and
They got Gabe Davis now too.
Yeah, that's this year, but I'm just saying for last year they had Evan Ingram and stuff. Like they were a team, and they had a
They were not a
like-
bad roster.
they had a
Yeah, last
collapse.
year was their first year with like weapons though. Like last year was like their actual first year of playing football. Like every year before that, it was just like a mean team.
Jake, let me speak real quick.
Yeah, hop in, Sean. Hey, welcome to the show.
Just one thing. I know I'm gonna defend your boy Kirk. I know you feel a little betrayed. But like Tommy said, he was playing MVP levels last year or 2 years ago, going into last year, and then he got hurt, obviously. But with the team he has and the Falcons and all the weapons, I don't like your whatever you're rating it off of what he's gonna do this year. I feel like he's gonna play out of his mind, even with Penix on his back, more motivation.
I can agree. I can get behind that shot. I think Kirk Cousins is fired up a little bit this year. It's going to be interesting. If he doesn't get hurt, he should have a good season.
He was
Here's
doing
the
good
issue.
before he got hurt.
Here's the issue. That injury is no joke. His age is no joke. Now, he is a pocket quarterback. He doesn't really move around a ton, but it's a concern. And listen, he'll put up numbers for last year. He had like 18 touchdowns in 5 games or something ridiculous. But I think that they started 0-3 on the Vikings. I actually was on this show and I said, trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets because Aaron Rodgers just blew out his Achilles because we were 0-3. Let's get their first round pick. Let's pick Caleb Williams and then we'll 5-peat. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that last party. And that's what happened. But and then Kirk Cousins blew out his Achilles. And other than Aaron Rodgers and Stafford, he's the oldest quarterback in the league starting. So it's a concern. And they have Drake London and Bijan and Kyle Pitts.
Is Kirk older than Russ?
Yes, he is. He's 36 and Russ is 35.
Wow.
See? And listen, just Sean, is he too low? Maybe. I would like to see him take a couple snaps after that injury. I haven't seen him since he got hurt. And there's a reason that they picked Penix because they don't expect Kirk Cousins to be there for the long haul. And so Brock Purdy was in the Super Bowl last year. Tua led the league in passing yards. Jalen Hurts has been to the Super Bowl. Dak Prescott puts up numbers. I thought 18th was an appropriate spot for him. But again, 12 through 18 are very interchangeable. A lot of the quarterbacks are very similar. Yeah, so I had him 18th.
I know where this is headed. So if you say all of that and Aaron Rodgers is in the top 5, I will blow a gas.
Cam.
You blow up a gas station.
Yes, I'm leaving it. I promise you. Aaron Rodgers shall not be in the top 5, Jake. I will lose.
Do we have any other questions or comments, or can we move into the top 10 now? Because now's where it gets fun, boys.
Hey, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the top 10. All right, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Tell your mom.
Tell your uncle.
Tell your rabbi.
Kirk is
Oh,
older
nice.
than that.